Have you ever wondered what it's like to put your money in some weird investment and then see it just absolutely skyrocket and make more than 10 times your money? Well, I've been able to do that just recently-ish. I guess I exited the position earlier this year, so almost a year ago. And I want to tell you how I did it and how I'm planning to do it again. Now, you could have done way better than me because this one stock actually went up 34 times from when I started to buy it. And so, yes, I should have stayed longer. I should have nailed the top. I should have still been holding it. And I think it's going to do even better than 34 times. But this is life. You can't just grab the whole move at all times. I consider it to be quite a good way, not more than 10 times my initial investment. So don't cry for me. I'll be okay. So before I show you what stock this was, I want to tell you a few of the ingredients that I used in order to make this decision. And no, I didn't know that it was going to go up more than 10 times, but I did have a fairly good idea that this stock was going to go somewhere, and that somewhere was expected to be at least a three bagger, okay, to return at least my initial investment and then another 200% over that. So this is what I have in mind when I want to enter a position that I think is going to do really well. 10 times my money, 5 times my money, 20 times my money, whatever the big number is. Number one is to pick an industry that is cyclical. Why do I pick industries that are cyclical? Well, because what must go up must come down, or what goes up must come down, something like that. Basically, you're looking to find something that has a lot of torque when it goes up, but then when it comes down, after it crashes, it just kind of dies and people forget that it exists. People don't believe in it, etc., etc. One of the ways to do this is to go for mining stocks, okay? You don't have to only stick to mining stocks, but that is definitely one really juicy industry that I love doing this in. Now, that's number one. Number two is to, within that industry, pick a smaller niche, in this case, a specific commodity that is really unloved, really forgotten about, where you'd be crazy to go into at that very moment in time because no company is doing really well. Most companies aren't profitable at those levels. And it sounds and looks like you're doing something kind of stupid when you do it. As long as you believe that the commodity is going to come back, as it always does, commodities always go back. I mean, look at coal. Coal is sexy again if you can hack it. But anyway, I digress. Going back to the sort of niche, I picked uranium. Why? Well, somebody sold me a good story that uranium had done very well in the past cyclically, and I didn't really understand the market really well. I didn't have the technical knowledge that I might have a little bit better today, but there's something that I knew, that it had reached a really high peak, both in 2007 and in some instances 11, and then it had crashed, and then it flatlined. And you look at the companies during that period of time between 2011, which was when Fukushima happened, that big nuclear disaster with air quotes, all the stocks went absolutely nowhere. They just went down and down and down and down. And when you thought they couldn't go any lower, they went a little bit lower. But then they went sideways, and the sideways action lasted so long. It was ridiculous. You had to be really patient to hold it. But holding stocks, knowing that the commodity is going to come back in vogue, is something that I'm willing to do. And it requires maybe doing a little bit of due diligence as the years go by, but you're mostly just sitting on your hands. And if you don't sit on your hands, you're going to find another shiny object to FOMO into. So doing nothing is something I can do really well, I figured. And then I picked uranium as an industry. Now, then I picked the company. Are you ready for this? You want me to show the company? I'm going to show you the company. Yeah, why not? I'm going to put you out of your misery right about now. It is trading. The market's been open for a good 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to share with you this specific company. And then I'm going to tell you why at the time it seemed like a real no-brainer. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a secret that's very specific to the mining industry, the junior mining industry, which is, the startups of the mining industry. And why, if you come into miners with too much logic, you will miss out on some really good opportunities. This is going to make sense in the end, I promise. So let's take a look at this. All right, so Encore Energy Corp. I'm going to go right ahead and ignore all of these comments because they put out some good news today. And so the stock is up, people are happy, whatever. I don't own the stock anymore. Unfortunately, I sold, a lot of it here and probably here as well. But let me show you where I bought it. Okay. I started to buy this puppy right around here. I think it was summer and it was definitely 2018. So at the time, this was before a 3-to-1 split that they did. And I started buying it at 6.5 cents. And then there was a financing, if I'm not mistaken, at 15 cents. So it was higher up here. So basically, throughout this period of time, I was buying. And it's not very often that I add to my positions, but the management team was kind enough to let me into one of their few financings at the time. Now, let me tell you, look at what had previously happened to these guys. They were able to surf the wave of 2011 and Fukushima happened. Bang, the stock just absolutely crashed. And now it's coming up again. The company that existed here, though, in 2018 is very, very, very different to the company that we're looking at here today at almost 6. The very high, if I'm not mistaken, was funny enough, 669, which would have given me roughly 34 times my money in returns, if I can do math properly. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite that much, but it was more than 10. I'm happy with it. I'm super thrilled that I was able to stick it out. And most of all, I was happy that a few of my theses were proven correctly. So what were the theses? What's the plural of thesis? Thesi? I don't know. So I had a thesis about this company and it was proven correctly. Now, I got to tell you, when I started buying this company, it's not that I felt nervous about it, but I had to be a contrarian about it because all the brightest minds that I talked to at the time, they said I was crazy. And some people were very publicly vocal against it. And then they took it upon themselves to shame me publicly because I went against their ill-informed views. Well, I'm not laughing all the way to the bank right now because I've already sold, but I am laughing all the way into my trading account because the company that people hated on has actually become a uranium producer in the USA in 2023. I don't have words to explain to you how absolutely amazing this is and how at the time, it's not that it was obvious, but there was one key ingredient that I checked the box of, and without that, I don't think I would have made it. So let's go into it. When you look at a company, especially in the mining industry, you really have to give the different aspects of the company different weights. And something that most people do is they look at different companies and they look at the projects that they have and they rate that very highly. I don't blame people for doing that because it's the most logical thing to do. However, in the mining industry, the stuff that makes you the most money is not the best projects. Initially, it is the best people. Now, the best people aren't the nicest of people. They aren't ones with perfect track records. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen anybody with a perfect track record in the mining industry. I mean, people hated on Jesus. You think that everybody's going to love your CEO? Absolutely not. But what I did see was something that was very special. One thing that I saw was that the management team ticked a lot of the boxes for me. One of them is that I knew they were promotional. Yeah, I know. For me, that's a really good thing, but for you, it should be, because promotional companies promote, which means that their stocks on average go higher, which means that it's cheaper for them to raise money, which means that it's better for the company in the long run. And if the price goes up, surely you want to sell it at a higher price than when you bought it. Makes sense? Yeah. Okay. Now you get it. So they're promotional. They had built large companies before. But also there is one name that I'm going to give you right now, which to me was what really made me go, okay, this is the team I want to be associated with. Big tick box. And that is somebody who was backing the company, and I believe they were on the board. So when you go to a company's website, you're going to see at least 2 levels of management, but I want to tell you about a third one, which you may not be aware of, but you definitely should be, because this is an industry where a person will set up a company and be the brains behind a company, and you might not even know about it until you talk to people in the know or people within the management team. So you have the management team, which is the CEO, CFO, etc., and people who, I guess, make the stuff happen within the company. Even the GO, might be considered management, because they are the ones doing the work. Then you have a second layer, which is the board of directors. Now, the board of directors is very special. And when it's a very early on company, they really get their hands dirty, and they don't just advise. Sometimes they open doors, they help to raise money, they do a lot of stuff. Now, you have to check both of those for sure and see if there are any names there that are iffy, or if there are any names there that can actually get you to your goal. There's a third level, which most people don't talk about, which is the people who either put the company together or financially backed the company. Now, those guys don't always show, they're not always so obvious. Sometimes you have to dig deep through, different filings, or you have to ask around. But say somebody sets up a company and, they don't really hold more than 10% of the shareholding, or they buy into a company, but they buy 9.9%, but they're the ones really doing most of the work, meaning putting the team together and advancing things. Well, wouldn't you want to know? Yeah, you have to know that. And also you have to know the people that have envisioned the company and then maybe brought somebody in to partner with them, and they are the ones with the name on the door, and they put the company together. So it's always important to understand who is the big financial backer of each company, because that's not always the people who are the face of the company. Very rarely it is the CEO. Sometimes it's the chairman, sometimes it's somebody else. I saw one name there that made me go, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is a person that doesn't play around, if you know what I mean. And that name was Paul Matysek. I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation of his name. If I am, sorry, Paul. Paul Matysek is a guy who is well known in the industry for growing companies, for big deals, for hitting it out of the park. Okay, you're not going to see him in 100 different companies, sub 10 million, that just, slush money around and do nothing and go nowhere. No, this is a guy that puts his name behind companies that get advanced, go through development, get acquired many times. And so I thought, this is interesting. It's an industry that's cyclical, so it's bound to go up again. It is a company or a commodity that is really hated right now. All of the companies within this commodity are doing really badly. So I know it's not a problem with this company, but then the heavyweights on this team make it really interesting. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Somebody's on my street making an announcement here. Yes, this is a big time announcement. This is important. This is the highlight of the video, not just the name Paul Matysek. The highlight is, at the time, the reason why people mocked me and went against my choice was because they looked at the projects only. And they thought, this company's not going to go anywhere. These guys are just going to pump this up and then they're going to, sell it and crash the stock and that's it, which is fair. That does happen sometimes. But specifically in the mining business, a lot of the times, if you have a really good financial backer, if you have a good company builder like Paul Matysek, and like a few others like Frank Justra and Ross Beatty and Pat DeCapo, what happens is on the surface, the projects look not special, sometimes really crappy. And then because the team is really good, they do deals, they do M&A, they promote the company, they raise money at a higher price, and then they get the projects that are really going to build the company. Now, the company that nobody thought was going to go anywhere at the time in 2018, and even before that, is now a uranium producer. Go figure. Is it because of the projects that they had in 2018? No, it's not. It's because the team made it happen. The people who put the company together made it happen. And then they advanced the project and they changed the pieces to the team to match the stage of development of the company. That is how mining is done. So the question is, what is the next big thing and how am I planning to do it again? If you'd like to know where I think is going to get really, really hot, really, really soon, then I would recommend you to watch this video right here. And I'm even gonna change the light here. Hold on, don't show the video yet. I'm gonna change this light. Let's not have it red, let's have it green. If I can do it. That's blue, man. Green, that's green. We're making money. I think this is going to be the next moneymaker jurisdiction in this industry. So check it out.